Hi students, we are going to learn today about A.K. Ramanujan. And yes, Atipate Krishna Swami Ramanujan. This is the full form of A.K. and you should know about this thing. And he was born in 1929 in Mysore. As you are very much aware, students, that whenever I start with any topic, any author, any novelist, any dramatist, at least 5 minutes is given to the particular author. Maybe you are knowing about him, but it is my duty to tell you simple things about him so that we can move on to the examination point of the subject. Fine. So he was born in 1929 in Mysore, where he went to the school, he went to the college, and later on he studied linguistics. Later on he studied linguistics where? At the Deccan College. At the Deccan College, and this college was in Pune, where he studied linguistics. Fine. After that, he went to do a doctorate, again in the same subject, that is linguistics, on a Fulbright scholarship, or you can say Fulbright fellowship, where? At Indiana University. Indiana University. He went for his PhD in linguistics. So whenever you will write the answer, you will take the help of these things which will help you grow to write your answers well. And after he finished, he got a job in the University of Chicago. Chicago ki university mein he got a job where he remained till his death in 1993. He died in 1993. So from the time he went to Chicago, got a job, till his death he was there. Fine. So this is a short detail about his education, about his career and where he was. He has written several books which also include collections of verses in English, collection of verses in Kannada, but he is best known as a translator. He is best known as a translator. I'll tell you some of his works which will help you to write, and that is you can see on the screen about him, which I have just picked it from the Google, so that at once go you can have a detail in your mind. Then the works which I am going to tell you, that is the interior landscape. The interior landscape, speaking of Shiva. Speaking of Shiva, you can note down all these works. Then hymns for the drowning. Then poems of love and war. Poems of love and war. These are some of his better known translated works. TW में लिख देता हूँ. These are some of his better known translated works. Fine. बहुत सारा वर्क उन्होंने लिखा, बहुत सारा काम किया. He also got a international recognition by translating Samskara. He got an international reputation by translating it into English in 1976. He translated it into English. And who had written this? Anant Murthy. Towards the end of his life, Ramanujan turned his attention to another rich area of Indian life, of Indian culture and folklore. Indian life, Indian culture and folklore. Fine. One of his last publications जो उनकी लास्ट पब्लिकेशन है, दैट इज नोन एज फोक टूल्स फ्रॉम अमेरिका, folk tales from India. And what is this folk tales from India? It is a selection of oral narratives. इसको आप लिख सकते हैं, this is important when you will be writing the answers, or if you need any details about it, you will be asked. The last publication were folk tales from India. Fine. This is a selection of oral narratives. Oral narratives from 22 Indian languages. From 22 Indian languages. इसकी डेट भी आप लिख सकते हैं 1994. So these are important points which cannot be subtracted before starting A.K. Ramanujan's poetry. Now, after this brief introduction, I am going to teach you A.K. Ramanujan's poetry. Fine. See, A.K. Ramanujan's poetry is oft proclaimed as an amalgam of tradition and modernity. Amalgam of tradition and modernity. We all know that yes, his birth as an Indian in a Tamil Brahmin family exposed him to Tamil, English, Sanskrit, Tamil, English, Sanskrit, and even Kannada, 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 which made him a bilingual adept at different tongues. Multilingual, bilingual, multilingual means many languages. He was a poet in English and Kannada, P-O-E-T. He was a poet in English and Kannada, a translator from, Kannada and Tamil, and a good scholar. He was also, I'm just writing down his qualities. He was a good scholar. He was a folklorist, F-O-L-K, folklorist, folk tales लिखने वाला. Philologist. Then he was also a dramatist and even an essayist. So he gave so much contributions to English literature. Ramanujan had that dexterity, had that skill, that he blazed a great path towards the development of English literature. He has given so much of India without thinking through his thoughts, and basically, when he was invited to a conference in Paris, he ate all kinds of food as he was a vegetarian and he could experience the world. But the point is that what is the Indian ethos in his poetry? That is a point to be discussed here, which will help you to understand Ramanujan for writing, for developing your answers. Indian ethos in his poetry. As discussed, Ramanujan is a poet who uses Indian culture, who uses Indian culture, who uses history, who uses mythology, and Indian backdrop to deal with the themes which are closer to the Western poets. But Ramanujan's poetry is rooted in, is delved in, stems from the Indian environment and reflect its sometimes or often very ironically in his poems. Fine. As far as Ramanujan as an artist is concerned, he has a great understanding of his native traditions, his culture, his general ethos, due to which he could create so much. We can say undoubtedly that there is a blending of, there is a fusion of varied roots in his poetry. जैसा कि you must have read, and if not read, if you don't know, I must tell you that like W.B. Yeats and Seamus Heaney, who expressed their concern for Ireland, in the same way, Ramanujan expresses his deep emotions, deep concerns for India and Hinduism, in which he is firmly rooted, delved. And that is why we find that most of his poetic creations, they have the mark of Indian sensibility, which can be presented, which can be seen, which can be read through his memoirs, through his past experiences, through his poems, through his use of myths, legends, tales, and many other techniques.